What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome back to the Brown Jet. And today we're talking about Nano Dimensions, or let's just call it Nano. There's been a ton of stuff going on, tons of drama. If you know me, you know I love drama, but it has a lot to do with the stratasys offer. You know, we've talked about this time and time again on the channel. This was probably the biggest catalyst or potential negative catalyst for Nano Dimensions. So let's talk about what's going on there and about their upcoming earnings in a few weeks. But before we do any of that, don't forget, hit the thumbs up button, hit that like button, make sure you show support for the content. Also hit subscribe so that you get more of these videos, and it also bumps up my numbers. You know, I'm very vain. I like those kind of metrics. So help me out there. You also have my handles on Instagram and Twitter. Go check them out as well. So as I mentioned, today we're talking about Nano Dimensions, and there's been a couple updates on their offer for stratasys. So last time we talked about it, I think you guys know, Nano Dimensions offered $25 a share for this printing company. And the idea was, as part of that $25 premium, the stratasys shareholders must replace 5 out of 8 of their board. And that's when they would receive $25 cash per share. At the time when we last talked about it, stratasys was around $20, $21. Right now, they're sitting at $18.61. And I'm going to explain sort of what has happened. So they made it very clear, and, you know, it's hard or very rare you see this kind of drama in these companies, but they basically issued a letter saying you have an important decision to make. The choice is clear. Elect Nano's highly qualified nominees to replace the entrenched board of directors on stratasys. And the idea here was there were 7 board of directors, all with potential self-interest in mind, and they're not really caring about generating value for stratasys holders. Stratasys had to be reminded by Nano about its legal requirement to allow shareholders to vote for directors individually versus voting for either stratasys' entire slate or Nano's entire slate. Hence, Nano's and stratasys director candidates are now permitted to stand for election individually at the upcoming general meeting on August 8th, which happens not the coming week, but the week after, on the Tuesday. So they claim their candidates are highly qualified and independent, but from Nano's perspective, it's clear that they are entrenched with an average tenure of 12 to 15 years, over which time they have overseen significant value destruction. Just take a look at that share chart. Like, that is bad. Like, this happened between the timing of 2011 and 2015, where the stock skyrocketed. And then from 2014, 2015, all the way down, it hasn't really recovered. Now, Nano Dimensions, on the other hand, has a set of incredibly qualified nominees. I'm not going to go through this again. This is sort of what they talked about. But they fully recognize that the board should be comprised of a majority of independent directors, and following a successful replacement of the current stratasys directors with Nano's director nominees, intends to take steps to appoint independent directors to represent their shareholder interests for the long term, and then at which time their nominees from Nano Dimensions would cycle off the board to keep it independent over time. So they're not looking to sort of just come in and be board of directors. They want to sort of set it up, clean it up, and then sort of get people to take over, right? You see this happen a lot with sort of professional companies that professional problem solvers come in, set the right path for the company, and then they go, okay, perfect. Now let's sort of give it to some really qualified leadership to keep it going. So, like what I said, these nominees are intended as to be interim, but they're urgently needed as a solution to prevent further value destruction by the current board. And they say, don't be fooled by their false claims that Nano is seeking to seize control of stratasys without paying a premium. In fact, they were offering $25 a share. How is that not paying a premium? And they had already paid $170 million to these shareholders when they purchased 14.1% of the company in the open market, making them the biggest shareholder. So their offering of $25 per share, which is all cash, would deliver a significant and immediate premium to Stratasys holders. And on August, and by the way, if it went through, I would be buying as many shares as I could of Stratasys below $25, easy money, in my opinion. Like I said, not financial advice. Everything you hear here, everything that you hear here is not financial advice. Make sure you do your own due diligence, because you need to do your own research. You'll be super happy when you do that, because then you trust your own judgment. So on August 1st, the day following the expiration of the special tender offer, Nano will announce whether the conditions for the special tender offer have been met or otherwise waived. If at least 31.9 to 36.9%, Nano will have met the minimum condition to accept all tendered shares. Shareholders who have not responded to the tender offer or previously objected, previously tendered, but properly withdrew their shares will have 4 days after the expiration date of the special tender offer to tender their shares in the special tender offer. Now, 3D Systems shares currently trading at approximately $9 a share. The current proposed transaction with Stratasys has a value less than $21.5 per share, and only half of that is in cash, which means that you are literally losing $3.50 per share as a shareholder. It seems ridiculous not to do that. The ill-conceived and dilutive nature and the transaction between Desktop Metal presents significant uncertainty and tremendous risk of depletion of all the Stratasys cash, as they both, Stratasys and Desktop Metal, continue to lose cash on a quarterly basis. And Nano is saying, hey, we're standing behind our results. Look at our results. In 2020, 5 million. 2021, 10 million. 2022, 43.4 million. And if history is any guide, based on their run rate, we'll get $60 million in 2023 based on what we saw in the first half. So this is incredible. And obviously, if I'm a Stratasys holder, I would be voting for this. I'm not going to go through all of this letter. It's a lot that they wrote. Maybe what I'll say here is the actual letter that was sent from the Nano's chairman and CEO to Stratasys shareholders. So, Yoav Stern. Dear shareholders, contrary to so many inaccurate, not to call those misleading, news releases and formal proxy materials from entities involved in our attempt to create a partnership with Stratasys, to the best as my knowledge and influence, our news releases, filings, and announcements, video or text, are and will always be truthful, accurate, and honestly disclose our intentions in general as Nano's culture and etiquette commands, especially your partners. Our future plans with respect to Stratasys, following the successful completion of the special tender offer, are only to buy the rest of Stratasys shares as soon as practical and legally permitted, and pursue a negotiated combination of Stratasys as part of a sought-after industry consolidation, be it with 3D Systems or other strategic alternatives. I have personally invested millions of dollars from my own family savings in Nano shares, and we've seen him do this. I have covered a previous video where Yoav Stern took his own money and was just making it rain for Nano, really showing that he believes in this company. He's just not here to make a quick buck. He's here to invest for the long term, and whenever someone invests, they're obviously investing for a return. So this is sort of bolsters my confidence in the company even further. I have never received any stock options or RSUs. All my equity in the company was paid for from my own savings, one way or another. My future upside is going to be like my fellow investors. Share price of Nano and Stratasys if you choose to join us. I encourage you to compare this to your own board, their lack of financial investment in your company, their actions indicating personal motivations, and their discombobulated behavior with 2 third-party buyout offers. The final judgment, as the ultimate decision, should not be with the court. It is in your hands. Pretty emotional, right? Should you decide to reject our offer, Nano Dimension will accept such result respectfully, and then they drop the hammer. We shall review our investment in Stratasys including our intention to dispose, which means they're going to get rid of it, their 14.1% ownership in Stratasys as soon as possible, and wish you success in all your endeavors. Vote against them. And this is them basically saying, look, we're not going to go down with the ship. There's a bunch of problems here. We don't want to be part of it. And so I'm not going to go through this because I already did. They set the record straight for Stratasys shareholders, I've already gone through this. And then this is the presentation where they talked about it. But recently, and this happened on Friday, they have pulled out. So they've decided, forget it. We are not going to pursue Stratasys. We're going to withdraw our director nominees for the Stratasys board, which was a huge pivot. And let's see what Yoav Stern has to say about this. We began our efforts to structure a friendly transaction with Stratasys with a clear focus on generating value for both company shareholders. While we continue to believe that a combination of our companies has both strategic and financial merit, particularly given our offer provides way more certainty and guaranteed immediate $25 per share all cash value, better than any other alternative currently available to Stratasys holders. This idea was rejected by an entrenched Stratasys board intent on manipulating the facts and preventing its shareholders from making their own decisions regarding our offer. We believe that our efforts to convince a sufficient number of Stratasys holders that their entrenched board will continue its track record of leading the company toward new disasters has fallen short. Many or most of the investors of Stratasys have clearly indicated to us that the potential overhang of the shareholder rights plan brackets poison pill makes tendering their shares too risky in spite of our $25 all cash share offer. The Stratasys board stance makes it clear the poison pill is there to stay to block shareholders from having an opportunity to tender their shares. So let's just talk about what a poison pill is, because this is something that Twitter tried to do as well. This is a defensive strategy that companies use to prevent hostile takeovers where the board or the management directors of the targeted company deliberately undermines the takeover. I think this should be illegal. I think it's completely ridiculous. This is where what they do is basically they specify a specific number of shares that's the maximum that a single stakeholder could control before diluting the holdings of all shareholders in an attempt to discourage acquirers from gaining a controlling interest, right? So part of it is it's a defense mechanism because you want to make sure that your company doesn't get taken over. So you do mass dilutions, right? It's a huge tactic. Twitter tried to do this as well at one point. They were going to do it. And then they got a buyout deal, right? That's when Elon offered, I think, $44 billion for it. Because poison pills can entrench company managers and boards, companies must be able to show that they are a proportional response to a credible threat. Fat chance this happens. Investors unable to convince a company to drop its poison pill retain the option of persuading shareholders to replace the board. And this is exactly what they were trying to do, right? So this is what Nano was trying to do because they were blocked from buying those shares on the public market, right? Which sucks. That really does suck. I'm not going to go into all the details here, but basically a timely declarationary judgment regarding the poison pill by the Israeli court, thanks to the request on the part of Stratasys, will not occur until late this fall, way past the offer that they have, because the offer expires, I think, August 8th. And finally, replacing a majority of Stratasys entrenched board will not be achievable. Taking all this into account, we intend to stand down on Stratasys, and they're going to do a possible sale of their existing 14.1% of the Stratasys shares. So now you see why, with this news, the Stratasys stock has just sort of plummeted a tiny bit, right? They've gone down 8 to 9%, almost 10% over the last week. Now, Stratasys, on the other hand, also is commenting on a press release issued by 3D Systems. So what they're saying is that, contrary to what 3D Systems has been saying, they have moved to expedite to provide data requested by 3D Systems for review, as well as having conducted management meetings. On the other hand, we have repeatedly requested that 3D Systems reciprocate with the same information for their company, as well as their assessment of positive or potential negative revenue synergies. Now, while 3D Systems has provided some cost synergy analysis, is only high level and lacks critical details that would substantiate their cost synergy claims. Despite the implications in 3D Systems press release that they have engaged cooperatively, we are still waiting for all this info. For a transaction where the majority of the proposed merger consideration comes in the form of equity of 3D Systems, the Stratasys board needs to understand these crucial details to make a responsible and informed decision. So this has a lot to do with that public proposal back in July 13th, to make sure it's a really good proposal, and then we're going to see if they're going to go through with it. So we don't know even on this accord. But because of it, Stratasys has sort of suffered overall. In the meantime, Nano Dimensions has been doing great. Up 2% on Friday, up about 3% over the week, 10% over the month, and year to date up about 40%. Fantastic. Now, if you look at all the other news releases that are going on, the other one that's coming up is their earnings. So they're going to release their Q2 2023 results on August 21st, right? So this is the preempt, which is fantastic news to have. And we are coming there from their last earnings where they announced record Q1 2023 results revenue of $15 million, 43% year over year growth, 47% adjusted gross margin, and a total income of $22 million for the quarter. Pretty solid. Looking at Nano Dimensions, as you can see here, as of the end of June, it has broken past this gap here on the EMA 50. And since then, it's sort of like stalled out a tiny bit here, but it's still doing pretty good. Like, it's still on the uptick. It's high. It's made higher highs than back in March. It's the highest it's been all year, right? Because in March it sort of peaked, came back down, and sort of came back up. What I will say as sort of a caution, because I did the same thing with Zomedica, and Nano Dimensions is one of my 3 speculative companies that I invest in: Mara, Zomedica, Nano Dimensions. Those are the 3 in this bear market. In bear markets, you want to invest in less, and you want to invest much harder. Whereas in bull markets, I like to spread among many more companies. So we have our earnings date coming up on August 21st. The last earnings, which was on March 30th, we actually saw, because it happens after hours, a slight pump, but then it came down hard. I think this was more of a market-driven event, but the earnings before that was just down straight. So from here, you see like 4 or 5 red candles right here, right? So down, 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 down. And this earnings here as well, it was right here, down, down, down. 3 big red candles going from $3 all the way down to $2.50. So about 50 cents, maybe 15, 16% over 3 days. And the earnings here was sort of like flat. So lots to look forward to. I strongly believe there's a huge opportunity with Nano Dimensions. You can see here their market cap is like 817 million. They have an equity of like 1.2 to 1.3 billion dollars. So if we didn't count anything else, their stock price should be between $5 to $6 minimum, in my opinion. Like I said, not financial advice. So I do suspect that over time we can actually see Nano Dimensions just keep going like this. Like, we may see sort of ups and downs over time, but I expect it to trend upwards. This is also, really good news that inflation is under control. They are showing, inflation under control. The rates went up. People are investing more, and the stock market in general is going up. If you look at most stocks on Friday, they were all green. Hopefully, we see more of this trend so that Nano Dimensions can sort of continue with that. So, with that all being said, I just want to thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you sort of follow me on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. If you want sort of help with the stock market, crypto, and trading, check out our free public Discord. Consider joining the YouTube and being a member. Thank you guys for watching. Where is this? Oops, wrong button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.